So thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate those intros. So now Michael and I will do a quick intro of ourselves. Why don't you start, Michael?
Okay, yeah. So flashback to the college days. This was us freshman year. That was probably like the Deuce or something. We've come a long way since then. So
Has anyone seen Scrubs? Do you guys know that show? Yeah, we were Turk and JD. It was Halloween.
That's perfect. So, yeah, we'll run through the little icons here. I was in CASE, which is a consulting group here on campus. I ended up being a consultant right after I graduated, so I finished in like 3 years in a fall quarter, and then I went on to work at Strategian, which was a great time. So I was there for like a year and a half. CASE did a tremendous job preparing me. I studied economics here, and was actually we were featured in their alumni spotlight, which was awesome. And yeah, Abby, I was on the women's basketball team. It's like one of my favorite fun facts, because people are always like, wait, why are you on the women's basketball team? Like, you don't look like... But you're like, no, they have practice players, and it was like a really rewarding experience. You get to work with a team, and yeah, it was just a ton of fun, really. So I might stop by practice later today. Yeah.
Okay, great stuff. So during my time at Northwestern, I studied history, minored in BIP, and then got the entrepreneurship certificate that the Farley Center offers. I was a member of Pike. I was also a member of AK Psi, which is a business fraternity here on campus. I was on the club basketball team. And then I worked at JP Morgan as a commercial banker for a year after graduating. I worked in San Francisco. And so that's us. And then like freshman year, being Turk and JD. And then this is a half marathon that Michael and I had run during our senior year. And we're still avid runners today. And running is a part of our story with the company. So that's pretty cool. Want to switch over? Mm-hmm. Okay. So I guess we talked about ourselves. We all know each other a little bit more now. We'll tell you about our company. So our company is called LifeWatch. And today we've been working on the company for about 2.5 years now. I started working on it at the beginning of my senior year here at Northwestern, and then worked on it throughout that time. And then I'll actually get into that a little bit later. But LifeWatch is, we describe ourselves as an adventure company that makes a simple, sustainable watch. And the watch is sustainable because currently we make the bands out of recycled rubber. And that's kind of just the beginning. We plan on kind of making as we get more resources and more know-how, we plan on making the company as sustainable as possible. Like Michael's already got a few great ideas for how to do that. But basically our thought process with the company was, in the past, like with watches, for example, in the past, if you were on a sports watch, you had like a Casio or a G-Shock or something like that. And now today you probably wear like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. But we thought,
we have one latecomer.
Please join us. Hi.
Hi, sorry to bother you.
No, you're not bothering. I'm Eli, and this is Michael. Do you mind doing a quick introduction? Okay, so then we guess we'll just get back into that. LifeWatch, old sports watch companies, new sports watch companies that are like very technology centered. We thought it would be cool to have a sports watch that was, one, sustainable, and then two, you could be cool as if you were wearing like an Apple Watch, but if you didn't want to be bothered with like personally, Michael and I don't care how many steps I take in a given day. That's just not particularly important to me. Or my heart rate, as long as I'm alive, my heart's beating. That's good with me. And we both like work out, big. That's really important to us and also important to our brand. But we kind of like the idea of just having fun with whatever you're doing, as opposed to obsessing over particular metrics. And so that's why we wanted to create a watch and a company and a brand that supports that type of lifestyle. Active, but simple, and also environmentally responsible. Yeah. And so some companies that have done that in the past, like Swell and Allbirds, you guys are probably familiar. You probably see them on campus a ton. But we're not here to talk about those guys, so we can go to the next one.
Sure.
Oh, this is our commercial.
Hey, I'm Eli Wallace, the founder of LifeWatch.
Nice. Like a commercial. So, Okay, so let's not watch that video right
Yeah.
now. Maybe we'll watch it later.
Maybe we'll go
but-
back to it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's go back. All right, how we got here. This is the part that actually excites me the most about the company. So kind of zoomed out a little bit. As I said, I started working in the company at the beginning of my senior year, really the summer before my senior year of Northwestern. So I'll talk a little bit more about those earlier days, and then the next slide is when Michael and I joined together. And so then we'll both kind of take it from there. But so I gotta explain to you guys like kind of what the idea of the watch came from, right? You know, simple sports watch. And so this is the first sketch that I came up with a friend of mine who I actually went to high school with. And I just like called, he's a talented artist, so I just called him like, hey man, I have this idea for like this company and this watch, and you know, you're a better artist than I am. Would you mind if I came over and like we kind of just sketched some ideas? And this was the first sketch that we came up with. This was before we even had a logo or a name for the company, in fact. And then this is one of the first logos that we came up with. This is not our current logo. Our current one is much better than that one, in my opinion. But yeah, so this is just kind of like very early days of the idea in the company. And so fast forward a lot of time.
This is where I get to come in.
I really like this story because it's so it's just so spontaneous how the two of us ended up going to China together.
Yeah. We like to think of ourselves as like an adventure company that makes watches. So this was probably like one of the biggest adventures I'd ever gone on in my life.
Yeah. So I want to. Is it Tara?
Yeah.
I would like for Tara to see that picture of us running. It'll give her a little bit more context of the story that we're going to share. The first page. Tara doesn't know this, but there it is. Michael and I are big runners, so that's the context that you need. That was us at a half marathon. That was all.
That clears everything.
Yeah, now you know it's all right. Now we're good.
Okay, so yeah, we were gonna.
Yeah, so I was still working at Strategy Inn. I was a consultant. I was in Newark, New Jersey, which if you're a consultant, you're going to spend a lot of time there. And I'm like it's grueling hours, and it's like late in the day, and I get a text from Eli. He's like, hey, do you want to run a 50K in San Francisco in like 3 months? At the time, I'm like, oh wow, 3 months, I can train, that'll be easy. And also, you're in this conference room, you're like ready to just get outside, you'll say yes to anything. So I was like, yeah, Eli, 50K sounds fantastic.
Which is 31 miles. So you still have to do the maths.
And so as it's like leading up to it, this is sort of when the wildfires are happening in California. So the race actually gets canceled, and Eli instead says to me, you know, hey, it doesn't look like this race is going to happen, but you know, I've been working on this like watch company, and I'm familiar with it. He's been one of my best friends, probably my best friend in college.
I want to make a quick interjection. So Michael and I were like best friends since really our first days on campus. And senior year, when I was like starting to work in the company, I was telling my friends about it, and you know, a lot of jokes were made at my expense. But I told Michael about it. He's like, oh, you know, I would love to invest in the company. You know, like I bet on you, Eli. I love it. So it's funny how it kind of turned out. But yeah, so
yeah, really, it is really ironic. So I say yes to this race, but it looks like it's going to get canceled. And Eli says, you know, Life Watch, I've been working on it. I think I'm going to, instead of running the race, I'm going to go to China to visit our manufacturer, to vet them in person. And I just text him back, is that an invitation? Because you're a consultant, you have all these airline miles, hotel points, like you're ready to go somewhere. And this turned out to be just like one of the best trips of our lives. We spent a week there in China. We went to Hong Kong, and this was with our manufacturer in mainland China, which was kind of its own sort of ordeal to get to. It's not, you can't just go from Hong Kong to Shenzhen. It's like basically, it's like an 8-hour trip essentially. Even though they're like 40 miles apart.
Yeah, that was getting to our manufacturer was really an adventure in and of itself. I mean, going to China was a whole big thing. It was incredible, very rewarding. But yeah, so we made the trip. Michael was kind enough to join me on the trip, and we had the business meeting as partners. Mm-hmm. And from there, Michael and I agreed that he would become a co-founder, and so that's what happened. And the two of us have been building it ever since. This amazing trip in China. And then, you want to go to the next slide now, unless there's anything else you want to say about China? So after China, we filmed a commercial in Malibu, California, the commercial that you all just saw a few moments ago. This gentleman here, his name is Cole Bennett. He's one of my childhood best friends, and he's also a world-famous videographer. He's made music videos for the likes of Kanye West and a number of other like very famous musicians. And he was kind enough to do this commercial for free, and it would have costed something. It did cost tens of thousands of dollars. And him and his company, they did it for free and had a ton of fun. And Michael and I are actually going to move out to Los Angeles to build the company there once we wrap up our fundraising here in Chicago.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the team.
So this commercial, it kind of ties into like the reason we were doing this commercial, because the watches we're wearing now, there's only 30 in the world. They're prototypes for all intents and purposes until we have which is great. I mean, it sounds like you were able to get the designer here at Northwestern, an engineer.
Yeah, a Northwestern student actually designed our current prototype. Yeah, the watch that's gotten the company this far.
Right. So we wanted to have this commercial to kind of accompany our Kickstarter. And if you're familiar with Kickstarter or Indiegogo, they're sort of great platforms for you to crowdfund whatever idea you have. But a couple of the requirements are that you have a prototype that have like a true entrepreneurial story. So he's able to share those images of him first crafting the logo, and you actually have to have a prototype as well. So this kind of leads into the Kickstarter campaign that we then launched.
Yeah. So we launched our Kickstarter campaign. When was that? It was a few months ago. Back
April?
April, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Around April, we launched our Kickstarter campaign. The campaign lasted 30 days. We raised a little bit over $15,000, which was our goal. And with Kickstarter, if you don't meet your goal, you don't get any of the money. So we were fortunate, if you see here, just enough to.
Whose parent put in?
Neither. Although my parents, they bought watches. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just goofing with you.
I know. Okay. I think that's all we got to say about the Kickstarter. And then where we're going. This is an image from Times Square. It'd be cool if we had a billboard there. That looks nice. So right now, Michael and I are currently fundraising for the company. In terms of the details of that, the company's at $1 million valuation. We're raising $250,000, and we're going to be wrapping up in the end of October. After that, we're going to redesign the watch, as Mike was talking about. Then we're going to get our first inventory order, roll out the official launch of the company, and just grow the company and the brand from there. And then, is there anything? There's another slide. Why don't we show them we have time to show them that video.
Sure.
Yeah. So Christian, the highlight reel for this event has to be this crazy. That's going to be a part of our startup film as well. Because like I said, we're making a film documenting our journey building the company, and so when we do events like this, we like to capture them. Yeah, and then as the takeaways, our takeaways.
Yeah, let's go to those.
Okay. Some things that we've learned. There are more options than are obvious to you right now. So when I was a student at Northwestern, for a long time I thought the only things I could do was be a consultant or an investment banker. And those things are great things to do. And in fact, I did go into the finance industry for a period of time, and Michael was a consultant for a period of time. But I found something to do other than that I was very passionate about, and I'm very happy doing that. So that's available to you too. And it may not be obvious to you at the time, but there are things that you can do that are not exactly.
Those two things, yeah.
Yeah. And then you can be doing actionable things today to explore your passions and interests. So as I said, I started working in the company during my senior year here. And I was working out of the garage, and I was actually had a mentor in the Farley Center, the Entrepreneurship Center. A director of the Farley Center was a mentor of mine for a couple quarters. While I was taking classes and enjoying my senior year, I was also just kind of working on this company, which was really just a passion project at the time. And at that time, I had aspirations for the company. And, I was hoping that it could grow into something that was mature and valuable and significant, but definitely could not see that at the time, and definitely would not have been able to see like the position that Michael and I are in currently today. I could not have seen that then, but I was just like, oh, I'm interested in the idea of making a company, and particularly this watch company, and there are resources available to me right now, and so I'm just gonna just see what happens if I work on this. And yeah, another one, embrace
this is our
uncertainty.
favorite.
Yeah, this is definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
I know you just go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. I think maybe one of the best uncertain moments was like right after that Kickstarter ended.
Yeah. Yeah,
right,
why don't you tell them about how we both quit our jobs?
Quit our jobs. Both of our parents were like, "What?" We sent you to Northwestern. Yeah, and so $15,000 is not enough to start a company, but we were in love with the idea of what we could do with this company, and we saw like a unique opportunity where there was nothing like it in the market. And then also, like, I don't think either of us were like the happiest at JP Morgan or Strategy Inn. And so it was like a really pretty, like, the stars align where you can kind of do this. But with $15,000, we didn't think we could actually have a viable business. But then you start to use the skills and the resources of the school to...
Yeah, we'll get to that. I want to get to that point too. But just one more thing about this point. Yeah, like, I remember when I was leaving JP Morgan, people would say, oh, it's a great job, which it is. And it's like, why don't you just stay there, kind of continue to work on the company on the side, which I had been doing for a year, right? It wasn't like I was, foolhardy, completely throwing caution to the wind. I graduate, no money, like no resources. Let me just go start this company that's like not really very far at this point. But I had made taken a calculated risk, which is a key point, calculated. And the Kickstarter we just successfully completed it, raised $15,000. And I kind of did the math. It's like, okay, we need a lot more money than that to build the company. Am I going to convince anyone to give me money while I'm working a full-time job in terms of like my energy? Like it's a demanding job. I got to be doing that all the time. Am I going to be emailing people, taking phone calls, like fundraising as actively as Michael and I are currently doing? And then two, or am I going to just give up on this whole thing that I've devoted 2 years of energy and time into at that point, and just, it was just a pipe dream. It was something that was fun while it lasted, and let me just let it die. I didn't like either of those options, and so I took the calculated risk, and we wouldn't have been able to see out, that we've raised over $100,000, and we're in a great position to go out and try to build this company, but we had to take the risk because we were not in that position when we both decided to go full time on this. And another big uncertainty, going out to China. That was really, I'd never been in China before. It was actually, we failed to tell them that it was over Thanksgiving because we were both working at the time. And so, I guess we could have taken vacation whenever, but to take off like 2 weeks just randomly is kind of bizarre. And so it worked out well that it was over Thanksgiving break. I called my mom like, hey, Mom, I'm not going to be going home because I was living in San Francisco. My family's here in Chicago. It's like, hey, Mom, I'm not going to come home from San Francisco. I'm not going to come home for Thanksgiving. I'm going to actually go to China to meet with this manufacturer who, by the way, I had no idea that these people even existed. I was just emailing them back and forth. I asked them, like, I'd like to visit your factory. Like, oh, here's our address, right? But as if it's like, downtown Evanston or something like that. But, we bought these flights, went out there completely in the dark as to what any of this was going to be like.
Yeah.
But
I'd even say, like, further than that, it's like just day to day. Like, you're doing something for the first time almost every single time.
Yeah.
Whether it's like, you want to set this up as an LLC or a C Corp, however you want to do it, but you've never done that. You have to go research. But you'd be amazed, like, how helpful people will be and how, like, just truthfully the resources you have at this school. And then also kind of what you're capable of when, like, you totally buy into something 100%.
And this one, I think this one's really great. I think it's particularly relevant to us right now. Yeah, so Northwestern is a tremendous resource. As we said, Michael and I are currently fundraising right now, and most of our investors are people involved with
former professors, people that we meet at Northwestern San Francisco's campus.
Yeah, classmates of ours.
A lot of classmates, yeah.
Someone from Northwestern, student at Northwestern, designed the watch. This company, we're here talking to you all right now. This company is very much kind of a child of Northwestern, and Northwestern's been tremendously supportive of what Michael and I have been doing. And I feel very fortunate to have graduated from an institution like this. And yeah, I think in terms of our presentation, that's all. So thank you guys for your patience and listening, and I would like to open the floor for any questions that you all may have. Tara. The hardest, for me personally, the hardest thing was the earliest days. Like, can you go back to those sketches, Michael?
Yeah.
Like, I remember going to my friend's house and we were just like at his kitchen table and I was telling him about the idea that I had for this company. Like when you're doing that, when you're like drawing a sketch like that, and this is the only thing, at that time there was the only like tangible thing as it pertained to LifeWatch. Actually, the name didn't even exist. To spend a bunch of energy working on that is like really hard because you can't see that. Like you can't see talking to people like about like this company. You can't see asking someone for tens of thousands of dollars when you're drawing this. Michael came on. That made it a lot easier because it became more real because now there's another person who I respect and consider very talented.
Just as crazy as you.
Exactly. So like, maybe I am not completely delusional because there is another person who also kind of sees. And so now, we've made it more and more real as we've both devoted our energy into the idea. So if you have an idea and you can get past this, that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe this is unrelated, but looking back, like I always kind of wish that we had started this company actually sooner. Like had we started at Northwestern, we could have kind of used some of the accelerator programs and the fundraising that they have readily available to you.
Yeah.
Do you think that working at like another startup would have been more useful than working at like a big institution?
I'm gonna. I feel like I'm gonna be controversial again. I'm a big fan of like learning by doing. Like the stuff that we do, dude. Like you can't learn this stuff. Like you just have to do it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right. Yeah.
Going to China, you can work for whatever job you want. Like go to, like you're not gonna go to China by yourself with some wacky idea, and then go like to this like factory district with just one your friend, one guy. You're in a taxi. You're going someplace you don't know anyone there. You don't speak their language.
Yeah. So what would you guys say is like the biggest value proposition for this? Is it the sustainability, like for movement? It's
Yeah.
consumer, like stylish yet affordable.
Yeah.
Allbirds is also direct to consumer, but like extremely comfortable, and also has that sustainability factor.
Yeah.
So what would you guys say that?
I would say, I think this is another thing. I'm going to be a little bit controversial. Yeah, that's a thing that we show to investors.
That's the thing.
When you buy, like, for example, I'm wearing Lululemon pants right now. When I buy Lululemon stuff, I want it to like look a certain way, be comfortable, be functional, etc. But when I buy, we both wear Lululemon pants, in fact.
Yeah.
But when I buy something from Lululemon, in my mind, it's like, it's like a story, right? It's like Lululemon is like this cool brand, cool people wear it. I want to be someone who's associated with Lululemon, and that's just kind of the way my mind works. So to me, it's like I studied history, so I'm all about like narratives and kind of subjective information, and so to me, it's all about the brand. I want to create, and I think that we're kind of on the same page here. Mm-hmm. We're trying to create a compelling brand that people aspire to, that resonates with people, that people want to be a part of, right? And I had someone just say to me, the watch is really just a conduit for the brand. And the company is called LifeWatch, and we're selling watches today, but we plan on doing other things with the company, like LifeWatch adventure trips. We're already in conversations with the company to put on like LifeWatch adventure trips to places like Alaska or Patagonia or whatever. So to me, the most compelling part about our company is creating a brand and a narrative that inspires people and that people want to be a part of. you tell an investor that, right, and then you're selling watches, and I'm like, well, sometimes they don't really get that, but that's the way that I see it, and I don't think any of you guys are potential investors, so I'll be candid. Yeah.
So Eli's always been really good at having the vision for the company. I think the consultant in me likes to connect the dots. So I saw this as like a $2.5 billion player. So the watch industry is $50 billion. It grows at 7% annually, which is phenomenal. And the margins in the business are about 60%. So this brand, when I saw them doing $2.5 billion and I saw this as their watch, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a joke. And then I saw Timex and I was like, okay, it's a little bit better, but it's so bulky, I would never wear this. I actually didn't wear a watch before I had a Life watch. And then I hate the Apple Watch. I don't like, I already get paranoid looking at my phone because like it seems like you check it and you already have like 10 notifications or something, like you need to be somewhere, it feels like.
Yeah.
I didn't want that on my wrist. And so with Eli's story about like, this is sort of like a live in the moment, be the best version of yourself kind of watch, and we're going to put it at a price point that like just makes sense and it makes it like a fashionable, something cool to wear. I was like, oh, this is a home run.
So you see kind of the comparing, kind of the yin and yang between Michael and I. I'm more kind of artsy-fartsy in the clouds. Michael brings it down, shows us the facts.
So I kind of got into sustainability really when I studied abroad. I went to Denmark, which is probably like the most sustainable place on earth, it feels like. Everyone bikes, like there's just wind turbines everywhere. So one of our investors who we're actually hoping to get on board probably in the next week or two is the CEO of a sustainability think tank. And so we've met with him and talked with him, and there's probably ways that we can. Right now, the bands are made out of recycled rubber, and I think that's a great start for us. But I think there's opportunities for us to go like way further than that. We can start to, for instance, make things here locally in the United States rather than China would be a goal of mine. We can probably look into the ways that we're transporting the packaging. Sea freight's a lot better than if we are shipping it by air. And even if we're getting into things like refurbishing old watches, if you have an old digital watch, we can probably come up with a way to use that technology to keep it out of a landfill. And then we're even doing things around like the packaging, like can we do compostable packaging? I think it's our generation's like responsibility as we go out there to create businesses that actually like leave the world a better place than how you came into it.